What is going on, everybody? 'Tis I, the enigma of the gun airwaves, Miyanovich, welcoming you to Season 3 of the Liberal Gun Owner's Lens podcast, where unprecedented perspectives are packed into the cargo hold for the LGO Lens spaceship Voyagio.
That's fucking Italian.
Don't believe that evolution is possible with guns and public safety in America? It's already happening, y'all. Minds are evolving. Think guns versus public safety is the only game in town, do ya? Think culture war is the big boss, do ya? Then keep your ass in the past. Everyone else, all aboard! Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Liberal Gun Owner's Lens podcast. 'Tis I, Miyanovich, and I want to talk to you today about the con. When it comes to studying guns properly, comprehensively, evidence and data are a limitation. The reality is that there is not a full field of balanced data at the FOPS nexus, the firearms ownership public safety nexus. In addition, the entire machine of data collection is not truly scientific. The data collecting methodology, the data collectors, and the data interpreters, almost every stitch of these entities are tainted by the cultural and intellectual biases of a developed collective emotional regime. These entities work almost entirely for a mythologically driven regime. We all want to stop gun-related negatives, but having those sentiments is not an accomplishment. It's just being human. Laws and policy can and should be used in this effort, but this is something different from the phenomenon that I call big gun control, which most of you would just call gun control. Big gun control is a mythologically driven regime that uses a combination of data and emotional manipulation as its fuel. And in the end, LGO does not support big gun control because the gun control regime is simply wrong. Big gun control is emotionally manipulative, but it is also wrong. The reality is that the fundamental presupposition about law's behavioral impacts, the fundamental presupposition at the basis of big gun control, is wrong. It's not weak or a little bit off. It's wrong. It's flat out a myth in the negative sense of the word, because sometimes mythology has positive power. And whether it is a conscious or a subconscious force, almost everyone who is a big player in supporting big gun control is involved in a con. I'm not stating that to gain effect. Truly, technically, it's a con. It is apparent to me that the lack of comprehensive data surrounding guns will make it impossible for me to fully prove the ineffectiveness of most gun-related regulation. There's currently not enough data, and gaining it is prohibitively expensive. But just this morning, after some analysis, I have determined that there is something that I absolutely can prove. I can prove that the majority of the people who are significantly involved in the phenomenon of big gun control are involved in a literal con. I believe I can prove this definitively. These people have hearts that are mostly true, but they are also simultaneously selling a con. Egos, careers, financial desires, desires to publish, pernicious groupthink, inability to challenge the guilt and shame regimes of quote-unquote liberal culture, dominant concern for election outcomes, the easily observable fusion between the social sciences and the Democratic Party, all of these behavioral elements, among many others, drive the support for the patterns of big gun control. The bias is ever present and profound, and with this particular bias comes a phenomenal blindness to reality, the kind of blindness that can only exist when fundamental ideas go unchallenged from within one's own walls. At the intersection of perception and reality, this blindness has to be compensated for somehow in the effort, and the way that this gap is covered is through a mostly subconscious con. Also important, you do not have to be aware that you are conning people to be involved in a con. Selling the idea that typical gun-related regulatory products are worthy of the primary spot in mitigation is the con. I'm going to say that again. Selling the idea that typical gun-related regulatory products are worthy of the primary spot in mitigation is the con. Again, LGO has no doubt that regulations and policy matter in a comprehensive approach, but big gun control is a political con. To be fair, so too is the idea that gun rights and the Constitution place gun ownership outside of the realm of regulatory consideration. For the record, this is also a con. One of the many blessings of being an LGO, and frankly, the blessings here are running thin. Most of what I have to endure is trouble, demoralization, bullshit, and laboring against a society that won't grow up. In any event, one of the great blessings is the blessing of our relationship with David Umani. Why? Well, lots of reasons, but one of the main ones, his work is the only gun work that I see coming from the academic world or the world of socially aware gun books that is not involved in the con. Currently, I cannot definitively prove the ineffectiveness of many gun laws. I can strongly argue to show ineffectiveness, but it won't be definitive until we have more data. However, I can definitively prove that the majority of the current culture that surrounds gun control is involved in a con. So I now have another seemingly impossible task added to the whiteboard. Watson, where's my pipe? And where are my pants? And where's my yerba mate? And why the fuck do you have my pants?